Hey guys, welcome back. We have John Elder in the house. John is a co-founder and CEO of Supergood, a creative agency that pairs talented people with AI to remove friction, accelerate workflows, and free the team to focus on what they do best. He is also the founder of Laundry Loft, a neighborhood laundromat built as a third place where people can gather, linger, and get to know one another. It reflects John's belief that everyday errands can become opportunities for a real community connection. Earlier, John founded the creative agency Heat, later acquired by Deloitte, and spent over a decade at Goodbye, Silverstein and Partners, and working on award-winning campaigns for clients including EA Sports, Porsche, and eBay. That is super freaking impressive and so dope. You have been everywhere. Which one of these have been what project was your favorite?
I would borrow a page out of Tom Brady's book and say the next one. It's gonna be
You're so funny for that. You're hilarious. I'm so
sorry. Yeah, we started an agency 5 years ago in the middle of COVID and started a laundromat last year. And, you never know what's coming next, but it's going to be exciting.
What was the initial trigger for you starting the laundromat during COVID? What was going on in your life around that time?
Well, I spent about 25 years in San Francisco where I had started that agency, had worked for an agency, started an agency there, sold it to Deloitte, spent a lot of time in New York on business. Yeah. And then once our third child went off to college, my wife and I decided we would try something different. So we moved to New York.
Wow.
So kind of relatively new to the city and wanted to find a way to, get more connected to the community.
Yeah.
And we thought, what better way to do that than to maybe open a laundromat?
What's your relationship to laundry? I never even asked you. Do you enjoy doing laundry? That's a real question. I never realized I love laundry.
I'm a laundry fan. I always do my own laundry. I'm always I'm an anti-procrastinator, so I'm always way ahead of things.
Ooh, how did you develop that skill?
It's also a curse.
Okay, for real. Let's talk about it.
I'm impatient. I like to get things crossed off my list. And so I don't know if I have a huge passion for laundry, but I think we thought what better way to get connected to the community. And I think when we moved to New York, we're old newcomers to the city, and it's a little bit harder to get to know people when you don't have kids in school and things like that. You're not going to clubs raving and things.
I mean, you're always invited.
They don't want me there. They do not want me there.
Who knows?
My kids are cringing right now.
No.
But we looked around for a laundromat or something like that, a gathering spot, couldn't find one. So we figured, all right, we'll build it ourselves.
I love that. And when it comes to third spaces, I think, what do you feel like is the difference, especially comparing SF to New York? And is there any in particular that you notice that SF does better or something that you love more so in New York?
Well, the scale of New York is just so much bigger. San Francisco is a city, but it's, operates like a series of small towns. I think the neighborhoods in San Francisco are a little bit more separated than in New York. But they do like gathering stuff really well. There's, tech meetups and beer meetups and things. People are out hiking a lot. There's a lot of opportunities to get together, in part because the weather is so good, I think. So in New York, it seemed a little bit harder. Like you can take a yoga class and there's certainly things to do. But we were looking for just a casual drop-in place. And, of course, we didn't invent the idea of a third place.
No, of course.
Invented long ago. And Starbucks popularized that early on. But we thought, we just saw laundromats as an opportunity. It's sort of like the most democratic room in the neighborhood. Like everybody needs to do laundry. Like whether you're, struggling to get by or you've got it made, you need to get your laundry done. So we're here to help you no matter where you are in the spectrum.
No, and I think it's such a beautiful story because my personal story is, I don't think I really ever told you this. It's a little personal, but last year I did almost take my life. And
oh, wow.
And the only person or the only reason I'm here is because my dad texted me right before, who owns a dry cleaners. And I remember being a kid and how much I hated the dry cleaners, but I loved it. It was my way of actually developing a closer relationship with my dad because, he was always working. And it was so beautiful to not only develop that through closeness and time and proximity, but to also see how he treated people. It was so interesting to see the relationship that people had to their clothing and to their everyday life. And they're so important memories that my dad was able to form, right? Like, I got your, wedding dress cleaned up in that last possible moment. And it's a different way of building a relationship with your community because you're there for them. I think that's something that I didn't recognize when I was a kid, because I was like, it's 90-something degrees in Georgia and I'm hot. But, after that happened to me in January last year, I remember the first thing I did was I ripped my sheets off, took all my clothes, and I went straight to the laundromat. It was my way of completely starting fresh. I told myself, I realized that my whole life I was living for other people. And the first thing I did was clean everything off as like a total wipe. And so that's my memory. And so that's why I'm very appreciative and grateful of our, partnership and opportunities, because it's not just my family, but it saved me, right?
Wow, yeah.
I remember dancing so much at the laundromat. And one thing I will say that I love about your laundromat versus the one I went to, the ambiance. It is so bright. It is so welcoming. And I never considered the design or the aesthetic or just the lighting that really impacts a person's perspective, because I'm used to going and it's dark and grungy and I'm like, oh, I got to do my laundry now. I don't want to be here. But when I'm there, I'm like, let me get my laptop out. Like, it feels nice. And you're very particular about how you created that. Can you tell us a little bit more around what went into the design of it?
Sure. And first of all, thank you for sharing that. That's intense.
Yeah.
And sorry for that, but I'm glad you're here now.
Yeah.
I think you brought up a couple of really interesting points to touch on. I think one, people do have a very intense relationship with their clothes. I mean, there are things that are very emotional and meaning to them, and they're trusting you with something that is incredibly important that people probably don't think about. I don't think I considered that as much when other people were bringing their stuff. We've had people lose, their very favorite concert T-shirt, and we are able to locate it, or it turns out it was not lost or whatever, and just the relief is palpable. So I think people do care so much about it. So it really gives us a sense of responsibility. And I feel like I'm so fortunate that our team at Laundry Loft cares much about the clothes and getting things clean and the people and that people part's been a great surprise. But to your question about the space, I think when I think back to my career in the creative agency world, I mean, first of all, I'm the account person in a creative agency, so I'm like Darren Stevens, if anybody remembers Bewitched. Nobody remembers that. But I don't actually do anything. I kind of work with the clients. I help with strategy, help with the creative people, but I help pull it all together. And I think my career has been about organizing people around doing a task and using creativity to reward consumers. So whether that's for EA Sports and you're doing some, during their Madden football game release and you have a bunch of influencers and NFL people singing a song, or you're at a laundromat. And I think design is incredibly important. It shapes your, I think your viewpoint and how you see the day. And we were really fortunate that my wife found Erin Carpenter on TikTok, and she has a laundromat in Charleston. They bought a laundromat also without any experience. They fixed it up in a sort of a more challenging part of town. They're bringing back to life one step at a time. And we just asked, would you consider consulting with us on the laundromat? We want to create this third space. And the bar for laundromats in New York is so low. They're either dirty and dingy and haven't been touched, or somebody brought them, maybe bought a new one or built a new one, and it just is a little antiseptic and just harsh lighting. And we really did put a lot of effort and some expense into creating a nicer space, but we believe it's going to pay off in the long run.
Exactly. And especially because I think when we talked last year, talking about how, some of the laundromats currently are, similar to my family, that's our end all be all. All of our income, our livelihood goes to that. So we're so much more focused on just getting it out. And we don't really have the need or the means to be able to create that experience. Whereas you have the other side, which is such the corporatized, very white and in your face, but you try to come in the middle of that. Can you explain to us a bit about how you're trying to bring that to life a bit more?
Yeah, we want to make it accessible, and they're just in this neighborhood in particular, the block we're on South 2nd Street between Hooper and Union Ave, and there just isn't a lot of retail there. There's not a lot of places to go in and sit down and hang out, and we thought that might maybe be an opportunity. I think my contractor thought I was insane by all the extra things that we wanted to do. And by we, I mean, Erin suggested we should do this. And I would be like, well, do we really need to spend that? She's like, no, you really should. And then we're so glad we did. So it was definitely worth reaching into our pockets a little more. And, I think we've been fortunate in business. I haven't run my own businesses, but, this is an actual business and we're working our way, trying to be profitable. We hopefully will be someday, but we are grinding right now. So I feel the every day you're like, okay, let's get get some orders out.
More reps.
But we just thought it was worth investing in the community, really. So, and we thought it'd be paid back many times over, and we're seeing that so far. Even though we're still midpoint of our journey, it's been 9 months of operating.
That's crazy, 9 months.
But it feels like we're already part of it. And I recognize walk in and say hi to Jose on Saturday, and he says hi to me, and it's really nice. It's very rewarding.
That. And what I love a lot in your bio specifically was that belief that you had around daily errands being a form of connection for people. Was there a certain point in your life where that belief was cemented, or do you feel like that was more cemented as you've created this? I
always love errands. I don't know why.
I mean,
you seem like laundry.
I love errands. I love daily. I'm a ritual person. Like, my friends always say I'm a robot. I'm like, no, I need to get point A to P, C. I mean, it won't be in that exact order, but I'm a very much like, we got to run the errands. We got to do it because it will slow me down. I have ADHD. If I don't have a certain meal, if I don't meal prep, do laundry on a certain day, the whole rest of the week is going to unravel, and I will unravel with it. So I get you. I get it.
Yeah, I love, I have things to do, and I think my business partner will say nobody loves an objective more than I do. So I have a thing to do. I want to get it done. Exactly. Getting, so that's always been a part of what I've Saturday, you get your list of things, you accomplish some stuff. And
100%.
Laundromat's a little bit part of that. So I just felt like it should also not be just a chore that you dread doing. It should be something that you can look forward to. And that was part of the intention of, having, a kids' play area and free Wi-Fi. And we've had people come have their first date in a laundromat. And,
oh my God, we should have a dating show next.
A dating show would be great.
I do have a matchmaking algorithm.
So, do you? Well, that's... Somebody was asking if they could have a Suds and Buds a birthday party.
Yes,
like, absolutely, come and do it.
I love that. So, it's going. I feel so great that it is that thing because I think for me, daily errands is my way of getting out of my head. Is my way of getting in my body and getting back into my community. Especially my whole journey of. I lived in Williamsburg for 3.5 years. I ended up leaving, going home for a bit. And when I came back, I moved all the way to Gowanus. No offense. Gowanus is great. No shade.
It's having a moment. It's pretty popular.
It's far commute. I mean, when the F and the G are down, I'm stranded. And that's what it was. That whole summer, I was stranded. And now being back in more so Greenpoint, but on the other side of the park, I'm like, my community means so much to me because my community is the thing that reminds me that I matter, that there's people out there that I'm forming relationships with that remember my order, that remember if I did okay because I was in a rush for something else. And there's a level of, again, vulnerability that a lot of us are afraid of bridging and getting to know other people because of that. But that's where I feel like there's this level of repetitiveness through our daily errands of having the same bodega that you go to, the same laundromat that you go to, dry cleaners, grocery stores. And, I find that that's extremely helpful with everything that's going on in the world and how much social media and information overload that we're in this constant, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's like, actually just go outside and touch grass for a moment and maybe do your laundry. And how have you, especially because we're a little bit on the younger side, you have been able to see the interactions of our daily life switch on and off and completely, hopefully get a little bit better. But how would you have seen daily life back when you were in your 20s and 30s versus now and what other people our age are kind of showing you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been around long enough that I can remember a time without social media.
Yeah, exactly. I was saying,
news about things happening from your friends. Like, oh my gosh, Bruce Springsteen is coming. We should get tickets.
You said that, and I was like, I can't even find the song. I don't know him.
But I think also as I grew up in a small town in Western Massachusetts, and everybody knew each other. And there's something comforting about going into the hardware store. My family had lived there for a couple generations. So my dog followed me to school one day and was running down the hallway. My aunt happened to be the librarian. So she drove him home. So it was like that kind of thing. It was a little, just a charming time. And I feel like we lost a bit of that with, sort of, I've lived in cities, lived in Boston, lived
Yeah.
in Providence and San Francisco, and now in New York. And I feel like you might have to work a little harder to get the community, but the community is there. Like you look at
It
Susie
is.
has a barbershop like right around the corner from us, and she's like the most welcoming, nicest
Yeah.
person. So I think if you put yourself out there, it will come back to you. And it's important to do that. So I felt like having a place that could be a little bit of a canvas where people can come together and forge new friendships or catch up with their neighbors might be a healthy way for people to exist. And we saw that during like the blizzards we had this winter where people would, I felt like it was going to be totally dead, and people would come in and be like, I know it's going to be warm in here. I'm going to hang out. I'm not going to stir crazy. And that's what we love to see.
Stir crazy is a very real thing. Very real thing. And so kind of going back to some of the work that you do now, especially with your creative agency that's focused on AI, given everything that's out there and all the topics of no AI is good, AI is bad, how do you kind of come in and add a different perspective with what you're doing? Because I love how you focus on removing the friction so that we could actually work better and do the things that we love. But how do you actually bring that to life?
Well, that's a good question. We started because, we'd having been in creative agency, the creative side of the agency business for my entire career, we just saw kind of how things were happening. And I got into the business because it seemed like I couldn't believe this was a business that was also kind of fun. Like you would do commercials for kids, like throwing Nerf footballs around or video games and things like that. And it just has gotten less and less fun over the years. We also saw, having, being business people, that there's a real margin squeeze facing the creative industry, and it's really hard to make money. Downward pressure on client fees and upward pressure on salaries. And the only way we'd seen industry successfully navigate that margin squeeze is through the use of technology. But it's been really hard in the creative industry because creative people don't really want to change the way they work, nor should they. So we thought maybe it would be helpful if we took what we knew about advertising, how to make it, and we've made some good advertising in our past, to be able to make people's jobs more fun, take some of the friction out. So instead of having to go around and do research on inspiration for a campaign, what if it was served up for you that morning when you show up? What if you have all the latest trends brought to your laptop, so you could just write a social post or something like that? And I know AI is definitely having there are pros and cons for sure. But we use it. We started using it before the commercial LLMs were publicly available, really just to accelerate the process for people so they didn't have to go do the drudgery and make it more fun for people. We thought it would be more fun for the people who made the advertising, more rewarding for the people who watch the advertising, and more profitable for the clients who, have to pay for the advertising.
Yeah. And how you've been in this advertising world for a while. How has it changed now with social media, and how are you kind of adapting to what you're seeing online now in terms of some of the commercial clients you work with?
Well, I'd say I started my career and I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have a computer on my desk. There were typesetters that would set it by hand. So about every 5 to 10 years, there's some transformational thing. Like Macs come out and all of a sudden people are designing on them. I was at Goodby Silverstein and Partners, one of the best creative agencies in the country, which I went out to work for because they're amazing, and I helped them start what they called their interactive division back in the day, where during the .com boom and then bust, and learned a lot. And I feel like AI and where we are now is sort of at a similar thing. AI is probably going to have more impact than the commercial internet, just because it can do so many things, and nobody knows. Nobody knows. And I think that's one thing There's an equal amount of hand wavy about AI is going to save us, and then there's a lot of hand wringing about AI is going to be the end of us all. And in my experience, it is never either extreme. It is somewhere in the middle. And so we're just trying to roll up our sleeves and participate and sort of help kind of lead an industry into whatever the future is going to be. Yeah. So I think technology and creativity can be very powerful when they're brought together. I think we have that at the laundromat. We have a very creative space. Yeah. We have the latest technology, and the machines, eco-friendly, very efficient. We have easy ordering and things like that. So I think it's something that I believe in. I
love that. And so going back to a little bit about you, because this is a creative space, what is your creative outlet? I don't think I've ever asked you. Even as a kid, what was your thing?
My main creative outlet is cooking.
I love that. Are we gonna have a cooking? That makes sense. Why there's always cooking shows on your TV.
There is.
I paid attention. There's always cooking shows, and I'm like, it works. I love it. I love cooking.
I always bring a treat to our staff meetings.
You
we
did?
Have once a
oh my
month.
God! You
Yeah.
made the
We
shortcake.
made those little shortcake cookies.
Oh man!
Thanks to Ann Michael May for the recipe. But
so cooking. What's your relationship to cooking, and how are you able to channel your creativity through it?
It's interesting. My mom always said, like, if you can cook, you can eat. I'm sorry. If you can read, you can cook. And if you like to eat, you should try cooking.
I love cooking.
She always told me. My mom had just turned 90.
Mm-hmm.
I saw her in Florida last month, and she was just telling stories about when I was a kid, and I would follow her around the kitchen and get really into the recipes. And then she's like, at some point, you just took over and you just started doing it. So
I love it.
I think it's sort of my love language. Like I have people over. I love preparing a meal.
Yeah.
We get we have a place in Massachusetts that we gather in the summer, and my kids, who are now adults, bring their friends. And
no, it is. It's such a.
I had a moment last year where my daughter's roommate is took some TikToks of me cooking and then started posting me as Chef John. And
we need to bring it back.
We had it. Well, that's what she said. It was her birthday this week, and she's like, "We had to bring Chef John back." We had 2 million views on my potato salad recipe. Some controversy on that, and blueberry crisp recipe. So yeah, I think that's my creative outlet.
I love that. And what is Chef John's, like, what kind of zone do you get into? Like, what do you channel when you're in it? Like, what is it that you love about cooking?
I think it is just when you master it, it feels not complicated, not hard
flow.
to do. You're in a flow, and it's just so rewarding to see people's reaction. Yeah. My mom always told me that when somebody compliments your cooking, it's not polite to say thank you, because that's like egotistical or something. So you should say, glad you like it. So we started a food blog about 10 years. Oh yeah, you'd love her. Yeah. She's also where I got my sense of humor from.
I love it.
But yeah, so we have a food blog called Glad You Like It. Yeah. So now that's
you have a
Instagram.
Food blog?
Well, a food blog, because that was about 10 years ago. And it was a way to connect our friends and their family recipes. So I started as sort of like a way to, my mom had this great enchilada recipe. She lived in San Diego for a little bit. I sort of, riffed on it and had my own version of it. And my kids are always asking, like, hey, where's your enchilada recipe? And so we finally put that stuff online. So you can find my carrot cake, potato salad, cheesecake, which I say are mine, but they mostly are my mother's that I've like riffed on
variations of it. I mean, that's what I love. I think for me, especially, my relationship to cooking has changed significantly. I grew up, because I'm the eldest of 8, and my parents are very traditional. They were like, you have to learn how to cook for a man. And I said, fuck that. I'm not doing that. I'm so sorry. I'm not cooking. I was like, I'm not forcing myself to learn something to feed somebody else. And so I never really liked it. I always thought it was like one of the last things of like, I'd rather get to go or something quick and put it together. And it wasn't until last year where I kind of was doing this whole rebound of my life and revamp of everything, and realizing the importance of actually just not even cooking, but even coming down to the ingredients, the food that I'm picking, the quality of the food. And it was my way of actually being like, well, whatever it is I'm creating, I'm putting back into myself and into other people. So I want that care to translate from start to end, not just the recipe itself. And yes, with my mom though, it's like difficult, especially being of an immigrant family, because we don't do recipes. She's like, you should. That's it. I was like, well, Mom, what's the teaspoon? She's like, I've never heard of a teaspoon in my life. What is that? And I'm like, no. But what I have loved about it is I was able to really think about some of the, traditional dishes and make them my own. And there's also a thing that I always do where it's so intuitive. Certain recipes may call for a certain amount of measurements or fixings. And I'm like, this is not for me. I'm going to add my little spice or flavor to it. So it is truly something you are creating for other people that they are having a taste of. So I love cooking, and it's definitely been something that I am a lot more grateful for as something I do every day. And so it makes sense that you also enjoy cooking just as much, because you're very much every day so present. How have you been able to cultivate such a presence in your day? Like, do you feel like it's something that you've had to train yourself? Like, how do you get out of your mind?
my family will laugh at this. I think it started when my dad forced me to have a paper route when I was 12.
I'm screaming.
We had family dinner, and he's like, "Oh, I had a paper route when I was little." I was like, "I know," and he said, "You're going to have one too." I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Starting tomorrow morning."
Wow.
And it was the best experience. I dreaded it. I had to get up.
That's the dry cleaners for me.
Yeah,
I hated it, but it gave me the efficiency of waking up every morning.
To this day, I set my alarm and I spring out of bed. Like I set it for the last possible minute because I'm not one of those snoozers where I can. Because once I'm awake, I got to hit the ground running.
Yeah, ooh, I'm not like you.
My wife always laughs like I'm like heading for a sprint. And then I get out of bed. But
I have to leap.
It taught me everything about like customer service because you got tips. You didn't make any money really from the papers.
No.
You got it from the tips. And Mr. Scott wanted his paper a certain way, and Mrs. Raskoff always made coconut macaroons. And then I grew up and I was in advertising, and then it turns out her son, who was older, was 4 or 5 years older than me, was like the sales rep for Time Magazine, and you make these connections. So it just taught me discipline and interacting with people and just efficiency, because when you're whatever 12 or 13 and you're not really good at getting things done, and
it's so, I think that's the thing. I was around 12 or 13 when I started working at the dry cleaners, and that did show me customer service and efficiency and also time management. I had to do all the different loads, and if I left something in the wash for too long, it would bleed. I'd get in trouble. It's like also the things that I feel like as a preteen, I'm grateful I had that experience because it's helped with my work ethic. How have you been able to do that now with your daughters? Like, is there anything that you kind of instilled within them? I mean, we don't have paper routes, unfortunately, anymore.
Well, I have 2 sons and a daughter.
Okay, perfect.
And I would say mixed. I thought everybody should have a paper route, but we were living in San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody had paper routes, and that was not a thing. They've kind of found their own ways of doing things, their own little obsessions with like sports stuff, or also like I think when I was growing up, it's so different because when you have kids that are into activities, those tend to take over.
Yeah, you
have to play your select team and your school team, and there really isn't a lot of time left over for that kind of stuff. So I don't know. That's to answer your question. I'm not sure. I had some good ideas, but I'm not sure that they really cemented in any concrete way, because I was like, everybody should have a paper route, and they just laugh at me. So,
well, what are some things that you tell your kids that help them get that sense of presence in
I
their
would
life?
tell them, definitely tell them stories, and they would see me, working, and I would be the sort of primary cook for holidays and things like that. And I would get them involved. So early on, I would do the Thanksgiving dinner, but they were assigned pies. They would do the pies. And
would they actually buy the pies though, or would they actually make? Oh, I'm so sorry.
I didn't to go buy something.
I don't know. Really? I don't.
What are we doing here? What kind of operation are we running?
Well, I'm telling you, I did that.
You can buy pre-made crust, but you have to make the filling.
Okay, well then never mind. I was not. I was always assigned the desserts, and I definitely went to Whole Foods every time.
No judgment on that.
No judge.
I did teach them that.
I can cook now, though.
They all know how to cook, whether they'll enjoy it or not. But my daughter cooks a lot, and at least one of my sons likes to cook. I know.
Yeah.
And, but my other one can cook if he needs to.
Yeah.
He will not starve.
He will not starve. I love that. And so I guess talking about the essence of family and what you're creating now at Laundry Loft, how are you translating some of the ways in which you take care of your kids to how you take care of your employees and your staff? Because I go there and it does feel very like a family. It's like I'm learning so much about everyone's stories, and especially like, again, we have this world where we see the boss as like the bad guy, and it's every day they're showing up, but they're showing up because they are being, it's meaningful work that they're doing, and they care a lot about it. Are there certain things that you instill within your daily operations, the way you interact with your staff, like things that help them feel like they're contributing to something bigger than themselves?
Well, I think when I started my first company in 2005, my business partner at the time and I had basically one principle, and we're like, let's make this the company that people feel like is their favorite place they've ever worked, because people will come and go in an advertising agency. You can sort of choose, like, we're going to be here for our customers, we're going to be here for our employees, we're going to be here for the revenue, and we're like, let's be here for our employees and make it a great place. Give them support, give them some freedom, let them make mistakes, help them, nurture them. And now when I go to advertising trade shows or whatever, you run into people that you worked with, 20, 30 years ago, I hear that repeated, like, oh, he was my favorite place. And that's very rewarding. But I think it comes down to just treating people with respect,
Yeah.
understanding where they are, being very respectful, and seeing what you can learn from them. I mean, I learned a ton from the people who work at Laundry Loft. Just like first of all, the technical aspects of getting stains out. We have some real stain masters there, and everybody's really working on perfecting how to get different kinds of stains out. It's awesome to see how much they care, and I think giving that same care to the customers. But it is sort of exponential. If you have care for your employees, they're going to be the front line with customers,
exactly,
and they're going to hopefully demonstrate that same care for to the customers, and then it just pays forward. And I think that's what I pulled from my raising children. You treat them with respect, treat them like they're people, like they're not your friends, they're your kids. So you sometimes have to be have the hard conversations, and I think that's something my wife taught me, which is don't be afraid of having a hard conversation, which a lot of people do. So that's what we taught our kids, and I think that's paid off from a professional standpoint. I would say though, like my best management experience came from being a camp counselor for a couple of years.
You were a camp counselor?
Camp counselor, yeah.
For what ages?
10 to 12. And if you ever tried to get a committee to decide something, try to get 8, 10 to 12-year-olds to decide what is our free time activity going to be today.
Wow.
So a lot of personality management and things like that, but learned a ton about, human behavior. And I think that led me into wanting to be a psychology major in college. So
I love that. I was in anthropology, biology, and he went to psychology as well. I think understanding humans is so interesting. And it's from a perspective of also seeing people as mirrors for yourself, which I love because I'm always so curious about learning more about myself, and I do that through my interactions with people. And I think it's extremely important, again, to show up for people the way that you want to, or want other people to show up for you. Let's go back to the camp counselor. I love that. What was your funnest camp story? I've never been to camp. My parents didn't let me. They're like, anything can happen to you. I was like, okay, anything can happen if I walk out the door, Mom. So I didn't get a chance.
Let's see, my favorite. I think it just was such a unified group of people. We had a great camp director who really, you went there a week or two ahead of time, and you got like actual training on conflict resolution, things like that I put into practice. It was
especially with 10 to 12-year-olds. Like, I think that's where they're just starting out. They're your preteen angst, realizing like I hate mom kind of phase,
and also trying to feel out their leadership or their who's going to be their position in the group, somebody else, and who's going to succumb to it or stand up to it.
I don't want to remember that time actually.
But yeah, it just was an awesome experience. My best friend growing up his dad was a camp doctor, and his dad kept saying like, I know you're going to be here at someday as a counselor if you're not a camper, as a counselor, and he dragged me into it. It was a really eye-opening experience.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So going back now to the Laundry Loft, are we going to have a camp session there?
That's a good idea. Well, I have to give you a lot of credit too, because as we're, we want to create this community environment and things, and then you approach me out of the blue with hey, I have an idea. Why don't we have a DJ Sunday? And
I loved it.
And I think your whole everyday celebrity angle is awesome, because
I appreciate that.
Boy, if you feel like you can, be a celebrity or run into a celebrity on Sunday afternoon while you're doing laundry, like that's awesome. So,
I love it.
So I love that. And then your idea for doing a comedy show. It's
I know.
Right in
love
the
it.
spirit of what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to everyday celebrity, it's one of those things of like, I want people to feel like a celebrity. Like when we did that Sunday, it brought me so much joy just to like have the camera set up and see their face of shock. They're like, and then they just turn into a smile and they see that they're on camera, and I'm like, yeah, you're like, hello. And it's one of those things where like, again, like we think about celebrity culture, right? And it's like, I'm glad that we're getting away from glorifying it as much as it was back in the early 2000s, where everybody wanted, the celebrities and the influencers. And we're very much like pulling away from that because we're seeing how not authentic it is. But to me, it's this idea of celebrity or fame, or honestly just presence, right? It's understanding that you have a glow about you. You got out of bed to do your laundry. You are a celebrity. You're doing it, like,
You're doing
and I think especially when it comes to the comedy show, because I God, my life is so funny sometimes. Now that I really think about it. So January is always a crash out month for me. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie.
I think January is tough for everybody.
It's really tough.
Especially when it's like sub-zero.
Exactly. I'm from Atlanta and I'm Somali and my blood isn't meant to be in the cold. So I think it literally short circuits. But 2 Januaries ago, I remember it was my first year in my business, and it was the first year I realized I'm broke. I don't even have money for rent anymore. I don't think it's sustainable enough for me to stay in New York. And so what I ended up doing was I decided that some point in January, I was going to go home, sublet my place, save up money, and then come back, which I did. But I remember the last actual event that I did was I went to a laundromat comedy show. And I remember I was so depressed, and I went. And then I remember a friend told me about it, and I was like, that is the most unreal concept ever. What do you mean a comedy show in a laundromat? Like, we have to do it. It was just like the most random, spontaneous thing that it pulled me out of my depressive spiral. And I remember I had such a fun time. I was laughing my ass off. It was such a magical day and night, and it took me out of my current situation where I was like, wow, like, just because of the novelty of it. It allowed me to feel safe. It allowed me to also be so open to being extremely present because I'm in a different scenario environment that I wouldn't conflate comedy with. And so that's really what I wanted to bring back here, where it's, again, you don't really think about comedy show in a laundromat, but that's the whole essence of Everyday Celebrity. It's being able to bring all these different joys and different things together that don't seemingly make sense, but they allow you to be so curious about it that you bring your guards down so you could fully be present and experience it. So I'm really excited, and I'm really grateful for all the comedians who are doing it. I know nothing about comedy. I definitely enjoy laughing, but it's also one of those things where, I think being able to laugh at myself is great, but then laughing at other situations, I'm like, I'm not that witty. So I really appreciate when people can think on the fly like that. Improv, things of that nature, stand up could never do that. But you have some jokes lined up, right?
Well, I don't know about, I have some dad jokes lined up. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
I think humor is a powerful emotion.
It is.
It's also a great unifier, and it's a gift you can give somebody when you can make them laugh and make them smile. It's a thing that also is I find very rewarding. It's one of the reasons why in advertising, a lot of creative advertising, there's definitely ads that pull on the heartstrings, but humor has always been a big part of advertising because it is something people can relate to and makes the ads more likable and things like that. So I think the idea of doing it, I have a lot of admiration for people who do stand up and get up in front of people and tell jokes. That's going to be so hard, so vulnerable. Everybody talks about dying, like dying up on stage, and like that's got to be really brutal. But it's really interesting. So I'm looking forward to it.
I am as well. And I want to say thank you so much for just allowing us into your space and for everybody there. I think that it's been such a a very beautiful experience for me. I think I have been in spaces where I've had to constantly prove myself to people, and it's been so nice to just come here and build something with you guys and also to have fun doing it. And so I'm very grateful and appreciative of you allowing us in our space and us to just run around with the camera as people are doing laundry. It feels like I'm in like a little playpen. It's really fun. Well,
it's awesome. It's awesome to have you guys. You guys are so creative and love all your ideas.
Of course.
So keep them coming.
Amazing. Well, we're going to wrap up soon. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about? Any last fun tidbits that they should know about John?
I think the one thing that we didn't really touch on that I would just say to people is like, I'm a bit of maybe an accidental entrepreneur. I don't know if I'm the same way. I'm a rage quitter. I was fortunate to have a mentor early on, a friend's family friend who, I would got out of college and started working in advertising, I'd get promoted, and he'd be like, yeah, it's whatever, but you're just making money for somebody else and you have no control over your destiny, and you really need to do your own thing. And he had a story where he got laid off with 3 kids under the age of 5, and he's like, I'm never going to have myself in that position again. So when I had an opportunity, and I was like almost 40, to start a business, and I could either take another job. I was kind of getting ready to leave that job at Goodby. You either take another job, and I had 2 other job offers, or have no money and started business myself. But I had been approached by a partner who had an agency before, so at least he had experience.
Yeah.
I called my mentor, and he's like, well, there's no choice. Like, you obviously have to try it.
I love that. And I love the point of, countering the point that your previous mentor had said about destiny, when I'm a firm believer that we have total control over our own destiny.
Yeah.
And I very much resonate with what you're saying in terms of being an accident entrepreneur. My whole life, I've always been thrown into leadership roles. Never once have asked for it. I remember I think I was like maybe 9, and my mom was on kid number 4, and I could tell that she wasn't done. And so in my head, I was like, how am I the most individual person that's now responsible for everybody? And every corporate job I've had, I've always reported to the CEO. I've only been a team of 1. I've been in positions where I've had to make $1 million decisions as a 25-year-old with zero support. And when I did end up leaving my last job, it wasn't anything I thought, like, I didn't think that I was going to create this. I really went into it thinking that it was going to be me building this creative strategy business. But eventually I realized how much of me was being birthed through it, that I had no other choice but to see it through. And that's kind of what standing on business is, right? And I also realized that so much of what we are meant to do in life, or our destiny, is meant for us to experience as it unfolds for us. And you have mentors and people in your life that help you continue down that path. So it is very admirable that you went down that, because again, you've presented with the more stable, what people consider the more stable, secure route, versus the one where it's really all on you. And luckily you had that business partner. What word of advice would you give to creatives who may be facing that fork in the road?
Well, I would say, like, anybody can do it. You just have to take the first step. And that is the hardest thing. Like, everybody knows what to do, but like, they have a lot of opinions about, and especially if you tell somebody you're going to start your own thing, you'll get a lot of reasons why it's not going to work and whatever, or people think you should do something totally different. And you just have to do it. You have to take the first step. And you can, I'm here to say you can do it. Like, if I can do it, like advertising, laundromats, like it's just hard, but that's all it is. Like, and it's sort of like, choose what you want to be hard. Do you want to get laid off? Do you want it, whatever? That's hard too. But starting your own thing, like, you can do it. You just have to take the first step. 100%. And also, I think the other thing is, like, none of us know what we're doing. We're all trying to figure it out. So if you think, wow, that person hasn't figured it out because they've started a company or they're doing this successfully, like, they're just trying something, seeing if it works. And if it works, they're trying more of that. And that's sort of like the mantra that I've, worked by and lived by.
And I love that. And also, change is never going to be comfortable. I think that's something that I've had to realize. And you just have to have fun in the change. You have to find your own fun. You have to make it enjoyable in some manner. And for me, that's music. Every crash out, I create an amazing set after it, right? Or every time I want to change if I'm going through a difficult moment, it's time to take a bubble bath, right? It's going back to our daily life.
Finding
it's going
the thing,
back.
Like, go for a run, whatever.
Go for a run. Do your laundry.
Do your laundry.
Refresh.
I would recommend that everybody does their laundry. Next time they need to contemplate a major life decision.
Thanks. I do agree. It has helped. No, and I appreciate you giving that advice. And it's difficult because it is a very changing world that we're in right now. And a lot of uncertainty, from like a political stance to an economical stance to technology. How do you find your center every day?
Yeah, I mean, I went through it, when COVID was coming, and I was like a little bit earlier, I think, just aware of something. I was doing a lot of international travel at the time, and I was just kind of went through a period of like, holy cow, like, what's happening? And I feel like it does, and then also like a lot of politics stuff and economic stuff. Things do end up working out, and I feel like you can get really stressed over each individual thing, or try not to get over engaged and stuff, and let things kind of work their way out through the system.
Yeah, I love that. Well,
you got to protect yourself. That's the most important thing.
Yeah,
because there's, I think it almost feels like in some ways the world is sort of conspired to like find ways to like knock at what you're doing and poke at things, and you just got to be just
Can't poke the bear.
We're all just here doing our thing, man. We don't know. Nobody knows what they're doing.
No, we don't. But we're here to have a good time as we're doing it and smile
Exactly.
and laugh. So with that, guys, we will see you next time. But make sure you make your way to Laundry Loft in Williamsburg to get your laundry done. Come on the 29th of May from 6:30 to 10 for the comedy show, Dirty Laundry. And John, any last words with the audience?
We'd love to see you there. Come to the comedy show. Come hang out. And thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And John, I can't wait to hear your dad jokes. I mean, they're going to be fire. I know they're going to be fire. Don't worry.
There's eye rolling happening right now. I can tell you.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning into SOB Radio, your soundtrack to Standing on Business. I am your host, Manny, and we will catch you next week. Or actually 2 weeks from now. My bad. Bye.